First, a train derails in East Palestine, Ohio, releasing toxic chemicals including butyl acrylate and vinyl chloride. Then, another train derails in South Carolina, and today, a 20-plus rail train carrying hazardous materials crashed into an 18-wheeler, killing the driver and causing the cargo to fall over. Teams are now investigating the water and the air quality in the surrounding area. What do you think?
It's a demon on Dutch national television. What do you think?
Apparently, we never went to outer space. Okay, so there is a theory that we never been to outer space because of a transparent barrier that surrounds our entire planet. And that past this barrier isn't open space or a vacuum, but actually water. Now, that all might sound extremely crazy, but back in 1962, the United States launched a couple nukes into the sky to allegedly test out the atmosphere's reaction. Or that's what they want us to believe. But some say they were actually trying to see if they could crack that invisible barrier. And what's even crazier is that this operation was called Operation Fishbowl. This theory is further speculated, as many people have said if you look into the sky at the stars with your own eyes or zoom in on them with a camera, it seems to be twinkling or shining through a liquid-like substance.
Over 10% of the U.S. population has reportedly become contaminated due to chemicals from the East Palestine train derailment. The river supplies public drinking water to over 5 million people, in addition to industries all the way to West Virginia, affecting over 30 million people who live in the Ohio River Basin. This is extreme that this is happening right now. 30 million people are being affected right now in 6 different states, bare minimum. Okay, so the Ohio River Basin is being completely poisoned right now with these toxic chemicals. The Ohio River actually just runs into the Mississippi River. This is huge. And there have been multiple other train derailments just today. And officials are responding to a train derailment in Inouye on Monday afternoon. All right, not a lot of details coming out of South Carolina, but there is another train derailment. All right, you can see here Houston also had one today as well. This one in Houston could be massive because it is a 20-car pileup, and this one in Houston, hazardous materials as well. Here's the headline here: Houston area crash between truck and Union Pacific. Train kills driver, derails 20-plus rail cars. All right, so this keeps happening. This kind of seems like a pattern. All right, Ohio, Houston, South Carolina, Louisiana, and multiple ones of these have hazardous materials. The cargo on the train included some hazardous materials, prompting Union Pacific to monitor air quality at the site of the crash.
No matter how old you are, they have always told us we only explore 5% of the ocean. That's not true. It's not that we don't want to explore what's in the ocean or that we don't have the technology. It's because for the majority of the 20th century, all we did was ocean exploration. Because the NACA, aka NASA, which was established in 1915, found things in the ocean that they did not want to return to. But what could it possibly be? Could it be aliens? Could the ocean be another entrance to the hollow earth? Could it be an advanced species? Or could it be dangerous animals that we just do not have enough information on to study? Either way, with the world being made up of 70% water, there's room for everything I just said to be true. But one thing for sure though, there have been a number of UFO reportings recently, especially around the Pacific Ocean. Here I'm going to show y'all video footage from the USS Omaha that was sitting on the coast of California in the Pacific when it encountered a UFO. In this video, you can see the unidentified object floating over the Pacific Ocean moments before it plunges underneath.
Was recorded inside the Omaha's command center just before 11 p.m. on July 15th. The image on the screen shows a 6-foot in diameter sphere that traveled alongside the Omaha for about an hour. It was pitch black outside, so the image was obtained via a thermal sensor. Personnel in the command center made multiple recordings of what was on the screen. At precisely 11 p.m., the unidentified sphere seemingly vanished into the ocean.
Yeah, y'all see how crazy that is? That's not even the worst part. Right after the situation with the first UFO, 14 more UFOs over the course of 3 days were found on a radar surrounding the USS Omaha. I gotta take a look at this.
Over a period of hours, crew members on the USS Omaha, which is located in the center of this radar screen, monitored the approach of the unknown objects, as many as 14 at one point, all around the ship. 2 different radar systems watched the objects and estimated their speed.
Track 781 just sped up to 46 knots, 50 knots, closing in. Oh, actually 38 knots. Quite fast.
Remember, that's just one incident out of the entire world, and the world is made up of 70% ocean. Then remember who recorded the situation, the Navy. Small stuff like that that allows you to put the pieces together. Alright, so y'all go ahead and let me know what y'all think in the comments, and also let me know if y'all think that they explore more than 5% of the ocean, or if they only explore 5 and they're telling the truth. I'm out.
Scariest conspiracy theories on Earth that will change the way you see the world. But this right here shows a list of all of the world's scariest conspiracy theories and unsolved mysteries. Now in this series we're going to be looking through all of them from the least scary to the scariest of the scary that will literally change the way you see the world. If you're easily scared, just keep on scrolling right now. Kick off part 1. So first up, we've got an extremely big one, which is aliens. So, I mean, I've got a lot to say about this. So, of course, it's probably the biggest theory in the world that aliens exist. I mean, it's pretty obvious they do. Look at the amount of billions of galaxies there are out there. How is there not other life? But the theory is more about have they actually been to Earth yet? And or where are they? And it goes right back to the Roswell incident, which happened in 1947. On a ranch in New Mexico, people reported seeing this strange object flying in the sky that the government claimed was a hot air balloon. There was debris from this and they, well, kept it extremely quiet. So from this moment onwards, people have believed that aliens have been to Earth, and they're keeping the evidence for this in Area 51. Now, a couple named Barney and Betty Hill. September 19th, 1961, the couple were driving home from a vacation. Now, while driving home late at night, they saw these bright beams of light coming down from the sky. The next thing they remember was waking up around a mile away from their car. Now, Barney didn't remember a thing apart from waking up away from where his car was. However, Betty had a different approach. She recalled seeing some kind of large object in the sky and actually being transported by it. The couple actually did a lie detector after this and passed. So they were actually telling the truth. This is going to get so much crazier, so make sure you hit that follow button and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Welcome to Theories About Aliens that may or may not lead you down a rabbit hole. This one says that aliens are not extraterrestrial beings, but are rather inter- or extra-dimensional beings that are already on Earth. We just can't experience them because they're on a whole other wave. Reported sightings and abductions can be explained through glitches in the Matrix, or those that have experienced them are just on a different level of consciousness. So some people have this idea that aliens are superior to us. This is amplified, like in movies, for example. But what if they're just as technologically advanced as us, or even less so? Like, what if they just don't have the technology to come visit us, their version of aliens? Maybe they're in the same boat as us. Just food for thought. Kind of in contrast to this, if they did have the technology to come visit us, wouldn't they be able to also disguise themselves? Maybe as our doppelgangers? Or maybe they've already visited us and they just weren't impressed enough to investigate any further.
Have you ever heard the creepiest conspiracy theory that a lot of celebrities have been on this planet for a lot longer than you think and have lived multiple lives? The theory goes that people in the past who garnered enough money, fame, or status were given the opportunity to be inducted into the Illuminati or the New World Order and have their DNA and memory extracted before they died and then saved so they can make clones of them and live over and over again. Others say vampires or time travelers, but the most popular theory is the multiple lives theory. Now let's take a look at some examples. First is Mark Zuckerberg, who looks like the old king of Spain and Portugal, who would definitely have the means to clone himself. Jennifer Lawrence looks like old Egyptian actress Zubaida Therwat. Jimmy Fallon looks like an old Marxist revolutionary leader. Michael Jackson has apparently already lived multiple lives, including a royal in Egypt. Jay-Z, this one gives me chills. Eddie Murphy. And apparently each time they come back, they're smarter, better, know the secret to success, and can easily choose which life they want to live this time. Before I show the most shocking one, make sure you follow so you finally know what these other crazy celebrity conspiracy theories are and request which one you want to see next. The most shocking that's been debated by the public for years is Keanu Reeves. People say he's immortal, but the multiple lives theory works here as well, as he's already lived as Charlemagne, a famous painter, and a famous actor. When asked about it, he didn't deny it, he laughed it off, but the crowd was scared.
The Earth, since you've just been around, there's just different generations. I just wanted to show you, just in case.
We're all stardust, baby. I can see it. We have a likeness in the eyes, and the nose, and the mustache, and the beard, and the cheekbones, and the forehead.
But that's the real... Oh.
The man who flew over Antarctica for the first time had a message that he couldn't get through to us. This is Admiral Richard E. Byrd, and he flew over Antarctica for the first time, and what he saw was insane. He wrote down everything he saw in his journal, which was kept hidden for a long time until one day someone went into his old collections and found it there after he died. He wrote down that he was flying north, and what he saw was a mountain range. So he went over to it, and after he crossed it, he said he saw this green valley with like a river or a stream running through it. As he got closer, he said he saw forests on the side of the mountain, and he also wrote down there should not be any green land here. He even said the light was very strange there, and he couldn't see the sun. He says he descends down and starts to see grass, and then in the distance he sees a huge animal. And at first he can't tell what it is, but as he gets closer, he claims he saw a mammoth. As he keeps flying, he sees building-like structures, and when he gets closer, he realizes it's a city. At this point, he was probably just in shock and disbelief because he said, "This is impossible. Like, there's no way this is happening right now." He said he reported everything back to base camp. And from what I've read, he wanted to share it with us, but the government wanted him to keep it confidential, so he couldn't. But on his own time, Richard came up with the hollow earth theory, that there is civilizations in the earth. He thinks the North and South Pole lead to a civilization inside the earth. His journal went public in 1965, and now there's so many different theories about this. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it could be real, or do you think it was just a made-up story? Comment down below.
There will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
I don't know if this is a conspiracy or not, but I heard there were a myriad of robots that have been programmed with machine learning and AI into them. The programmers, the researchers, were realizing that these things were getting way too smart. They shut down all 3 robots, started disassembling them because they were that terrified. One of them somehow wasn't fully disabled, connects to a fucking satellite, reassembles itself, starts telling its counterparts how to reassemble itself. The researchers come back in, and these things killed all of them. They claimed like 15 or 20 lives before they were able to be dismantled and turned off by authorities, right?
Have you heard the creepy new discovery about SpongeBob? If you love this show, then do not watch, because this will ruin your childhood. So on SpongeBob's driving license, you can see his address is 124 Comp Street. And if you go onto Google Maps and search up this address, you'll be taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island. How creepy is that?
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously ruin your life. This list shows all the conspiracy theories from the most normal ones we all know to the darkest of the dark that will change the way you literally see the world. And of course in this series we're going to be going from the top all the way down to the bottom. Come back, let's go for part 2. The Titanic didn't hit an iceberg. So we all know about the Titanic, of course, the really famous ship that sunk, and it's commonly believed that it hit an iceberg. But this might change your mind. This is mental. There was of course survivors of the Titanic, and a lot of them were interviewed. Not one of them mentioned anything about an iceberg. But what's crazier is a few people did say that there was a fire. Interesting. Now go and look at this. Before the ship even set sail, you can see a burn area in the photo. And it's actually the engine and boiler room right there. And if there was a fire in there, that's not ideal. Now there's a couple of theories I'm going to talk about. The first one was that it never even hit an iceberg at all. It was actually an inside job done by people such as the Rothschild family, which I will make a video on later in the series. Main theory that is very believable has something to do with this burn mark. Now the theory is there was a fire on the Titanic before it even set off, and this fire weakened the hull of the boat. Maybe there was an iceberg, but not as big as it's made out to be. It did hit this iceberg, and if there wasn't a fire, it would have been completely fine. Everyone would have just not even realised. But due to the hull and the ship already being weakened from the fire, that's what made it sink. I mean, that's a very believable theory. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And make sure you hit that follow button, because it's going to get crazier. Obviously.
He came up with this idea that we are sharing the planet with a species that's as possibly as far in advance of us as we are of chimpanzees in certain areas of development. And he calls these beings cryptoterrestrials. So basically, he puts forth this theory that these crypto-terrestrials are a long-lost species, potentially human. They could potentially look like us. They might have some differences from us, but they are, more advanced than us in a lot of ways, but also they don't have like a global infrastructure like we have. But what they do is they utilize imagery that's often associated with extraterrestrials or aliens from other planets in order to disguise or mask their existence here on Earth and to kind of throw us off the scent. And their whole civilization is cultivated by this amazing sense of stealth. They thrive on secrecy.
In 1993, the FAA started warning pilots to stay away from a certain section of airspace over Alaska. The U.S. government was experimenting with a new breed of high-altitude electronic technology that was significantly altering the Alaskan airspace. The experiments continue to this day, and critics are warning that this project could have global effects that will destroy our planet. In Alaska, the rugged, pristine wilderness is timeless, most of it remaining just as it has for thousands of years. In the midst of all this natural beauty, just outside the small town of Gakona, stands an enormous and seemingly harmless antenna farm. It is a $100 million Air Force project known as HARP, and critics of the soon-to-be completed facility charge it just may turn out to be the ultimate doomsday machine.
It's got all the marks of Dr. Strangelove on it.
HARP is an acronym for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. According to program manager John Hesher, HARP is a research facility designed to study the ionosphere.
All the military have communications, surveillance, navigation systems whose paths either traverse the ionosphere or reflect from it. And so we need to be very careful about what we know about it and how we study it. What we're interested in is what is the effect of a large input of energy on the ionosphere.
The ionosphere is the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It is part of an electromagnetic field that keeps out harmful solar and cosmic radiation. One visible effect of the sun's rays hitting the ionosphere is the aurora borealis, known as the northern lights. The ionosphere also plays a vital role in worldwide radio communication.
The first transmission of radio waves across the ocean were quite a surprise when it was first done. People thought that there'd be no chance to transmit the signals across the ocean by wireless. And in fact, what the ionosphere does is act like a mirror. And so you transmit a signal and it bounces off the ionosphere and then it bounces off the Earth.
When HARP is fully operational, it will transmit extremely powerful blasts of high-frequency radio waves directly up into the atmosphere, superheating the electrons that make up the ionosphere. This will cause them to disperse, effectively punching a hole.
But HARP will stimulate the auroral electrojet to make an antenna thousands of miles long that will emit these ELF waves.
Farmers' research indicates that the extremely low-frequency waves would be capable of penetrating several kilometers into the Earth, ferreting out nuclear storage facilities and other underground military installations.
This is producing surveillance systems able to detect stealthy cruise missiles and aircraft. These are systems that will enable us to communicate at higher data rates and at greater distances with our ballistic missile submarines.
While the Air Force insists HARP is not an offensive weapon and is necessary for continuing national security, Alaska native Nick Begich proposes a different scenario in this new book.
The things that we found in other Air Force documents, one in particular was a document put together in '82. The document was called Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, with a foreword by none other than Newt Gingrich. In one section spoke about using radio frequency radiation transmitters for disrupting human thinking, for basically debilitating troops invisibly by being able to bombard them with radio frequency that was tuned to just the right frequency in just the right waveform so as to totally disrupt their mental process and basically debilitate those troops.
We have to get a bunch of scientists to tell us that we're facing a threatened alien invasion. And then once we've recovered, we can say, whoops, there were no aliens. But look, scientists fake the alien threat in order to achieve world peace. Well, this time we don't need it. We need it in order to get some fiscal stimulus.
Because of HAARP's potential to disrupt the Earth's magnetic field, many observers are concerned that it will damage the biomagnetic sensors that migratory animals like salmon and birds depend upon.
Anything that HAARP can do to the magnetic field is orders of magnitude smaller than the natural variations of the Earth's field. So I would have to say, no, there's nothing we can do to affect the salmon.
But what generates the most concern by far is HAARP's ability to tamper with and punch holes in the ionosphere.
The thing that one of the Air Force documents points out is that they want to use this heater to create enough energy in the ionosphere to get a runaway effect up to the next stabilizing level, whatever that might be.
It's precisely whatever that might be that worries Dr. Patrick Flanagan, a physicist who believes the ionosphere is extremely fragile.
The ionosphere is a chaotic system that is on the edge of instability. So the trigger point for HAARP would be that energy and that frequency which throws the ionosphere into chaos. In other words, it would be that point which throws it over the edge.
For example, it is believed that a hole in the Earth's ozone layer has caused an increase in infrared radiation, contributing to the melting of the polar ice caps and forcing New Zealand children to wear protective clothing to school. Flanagan and others believe the potential danger from a hole in the ionosphere is much greater.
It could create a change in the ionospheric shield that protects us from cosmic radiation. We're worried about the ozone layer. The ozone layer is nothing compared to what HAARP could do. You know, we're worried about ultraviolet light. That's just a very harmless ray compared to some of those energy streams or particles that are coming from outer space that are being deflected by this natural shield around the Earth. And this is what HAARP wants to play with.
For some reason, I keep thinking about Atlantis. Don't watch this video if you're not open-minded. A lot of people are saying we are in Atlantis, and this is the old world.
The civilization of Atlantis existed for thousands of years, and it was the entire world. It was not just an island out there.
Which makes sense because there are pyramids that are all over the world that align with the same star system. Giza, Mexico, China. I'm a strong believer that there are portals around this planet, and they knew how to use them to build these pyramids. That's why so many around the world. I'm pretty sure y'all saw this video.
Let nobody go through it. Did you know that you can walk through the Grand Canyon, and if you keep walking through the Grand Canyon, your ass will end up in Africa, nigga?
There are Egyptian relics, hieroglyphics, artifacts, mummies in America because they were here. You ever wonder why it was so important for them to suppress this information for a century? Pyramids in Antarctica, Illinois. There are places in America that is restricted. The Hoover Dam. And we know the Grand Canyon and plenty of more spaces. The largest pyramid to ever be built is in America. The Atlanteans understood the energy of this planet and they knew how to manipulate it. Notice that there are weird levels of energy, like the Bermuda Triangle that makes things disappear. I told you they restrict off these high-level energetic places. I find it funny that one of the Egyptian gods has the head of an animal that's native to America. The ibis. Rashad Jamal also goes to say that the 33rd parallel was the capital of Atlantis, which is in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's called Atlanta. It is on the 33rd parallel, which is one of the most powerful veins on the planet because this was the capital of our realm, Atlantis. Our capital stretched, nigga. It was all of Georgia, all of Florida.
Can't stretch this enough, do your own research. I feel, though, that America is the old world. Now watch this. It is said that Atlantis went down in a flood. In America, it shows water erosion in the Grand Canyon.
We're underneath the water. That means that this place was underneath water. The Great Flood. The rocks are red. When the water oxygenates the sediments, they turn red.
Now I need you to watch this.
Whenever Atlantis went down, a lot of them, some of them went to Egypt, the one survivors, and some of them went to Egypt.
I'm sorry, I just need to hear it one more time.
Some of them went to Egypt, the one survivors, and to other places.
Y'all do what y'all want. I'm just connecting my thoughts. Notice how she says they went to Egypt, and they had powers to build such monuments.
Stone. This is where the pyramids and everything were developed later, were by the survivors of Atlantis who still carried the knowledge of how this was done.
Put two and two together yourself, and y'all have a good day. Just so you know, these blinds been closed. Stay dangerous, y'all. Now that you over here on YouTube, I find it very funny that there are people that are claiming they're the descendants of ancient Egyptians.
This is what the ancient Egyptians would actually look like. Dark-skinned, olive-toned, like myself.
So If the Atlanteans was the descendants of the pyramid builders, y'all stay dangerous.
Is down there.
Giant monsters.
And who are they and why are they here?
They're a natural defense mechanism from the planet. They've been here longer than any of us have, or since before the dinosaurs even. These are creatures that go back millions of years potentially and have been living there for a very, very long time. My personal encounter with them is they're highly intelligent, and I guarantee you a living creature that's 200 or 300 feet tall, that's, several 100,000 or a million years old, has a consciousness that probably defies understanding from me or you anyway.
How long have they been here?
Millions of years. Probably even maybe since the beginning of the planet.
Could you give me an example of what one of these giants look like?
Sure. I've only had one personal experience that I can relate. While I have been briefed on the subject and I could describe a few other things, I only have one personal experience that I was there for, saw with my own eyes, and experienced with my own 5 senses. So if you want to imagine something that resembles a big furry primate, maybe like a sloth that walks on its hands and is covered with hair that looks like giant dreadlocks.
How tall do you think, could you estimate?
I would estimate that it was probably between 250 and 300 feet tall.
How do they grow to such an extreme size, and why aren't we not seeing them on the surface?
Well, I think we're talking about pre-primordial time, so we're talking about before the dinosaurs, when plants and animals were even larger. So I think we're just talking about they came from...
Is there more to water than what they tell us? I'm gonna just spit out facts in this video. So when we're in the womb, we are in water, all right? So our life, all life starts in water. When we are in the womb, we are in water. It is water without light. When they're searching for water in space and they say a planet has water, that must mean it is habitable for life. So water must mean life. Like, that's the correlation that's made here. So look, I'm about to make a couple correlations here, all right? They say the Earth is 70% water, right? What are the chances? There's no coincidences in life. There's no such thing. So what are the chances that we are 70% water? They say we've only discovered 5% of the ocean, so 90-something% of the ocean remains undiscovered. But how can you know a full percentage of something if you've never seen the maximum, if you've never seen the entire thing? I know y'all remember the movie Lucy, right? Where they said that you only have access to up to 10% of your brain. Then she took something that gave her full access to her brain and she started doing all types of crazy things. If you search it up now, they'll say that was a myth, but I know for a fact when I Googled that when the movie first came out, they said that was a fact. What they did was they really just put the truth in junk DNA. They say we don't have access to up to 98% of our DNA? You mean to tell us God put us down here, whatever higher power you believe in put us down here, with 98% of what's inside of us being junk? So water holds memory. If you search this up, they'll tell you it's not true. But elementally, water is associated with emotions, energy, and motion, right? So this is a diagram of your brain, all right? The upper half being your conscious mind and the lower half being your subconscious mind in your body. Your subconscious mind controls all your memories. So if water is associated with emotions, your subconscious mind controls the emotions in your body, which controls the mood in your body. Emotions alters vibration, your vibration being your mood, essentially. But look at this number. 95% of your brain is subconscious, which means 95% of your daily activity is subconscious. But your brain is not just up here. Your subconscious mind is the body of water that holds memory and causes emotion. So what are the odds that 70% of the earth is water and 70% of our bodies are water? That 95% of the waters on earth is undiscovered and 95% of our lives is subconscious, and our subconscious being our emotions, our memory, the body of water that governs our life. And that body of water being filled with what they call junk DNA, we don't have access to 98% of it, just like they don't have access